All right, what is going on? Yo, do you guys ever have that feeling where you like think that you have to go somewhere and then you find out that you have more time than you thought you had, even just like a half hour? That's literally just what happened to me, and it's a good feeling. It's like I was gonna say if you find out you have more gas than you think, but that really never happens to me. It's usually the opposite. But dude, has anyone ever had a gas gauge been broken in their vehicle? Like a gas, if you felt that, if you've had that, that sucks, dude. One time I looked at a truck that had that, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I could fix that, and I was like, man, and then I was like, oh, you could just track the kilometers and like see how many kilometers you get to a tank, and then like kind of just predict it by looking at your odometer. And it's like, man, that would suck if you like literally never knew how to check how much gas that you had, or and and I feel like that's how a lot of people walk around with their energy levels half the time. It's like we don't, there's no like a fucking alarm system. There's no like, when you're low on gas, it's like you get the little light, you get the little beep beep, like fill up. But then it's like we don't have the same thing. There's no system like kind of, well, I guess we have similar systems, I guess is what I would say, but I feel like there's no owner's manual. There's no one to kind of like, there's no one that just kind of sits you down and was like, yo, if you ever see this or feel this, like this is when you need to go and fill up your gas tank. And then the more confusing thing too is like with us, well, I guess cars are kind of like that as well, but it's like there's not even just like one tank you have to fill. Like it's like there's like this like you got your like emotional tank, you got like your physical tank, you've got like your different ways that you need to kind of like fill up your tanks. And then it's like there's no even like alarm system built in to tell you when each tank needs to be filled, or no owner's manual to tell you which fluid to put in what tank. I hope you guys kind of get this analogy or like where I'm trying to get at right now. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like, especially maybe even as the seasons change, because it's like the beginning of October. It's like fall time right now. It's spooky season. It's, and like the days get a little shorter. They're a little bit gloomier. It's a little bit less sunshine. It's a little bit less heat. There's a little bit less, just a kind of like energy in the air sometimes. It feels like. But there's obviously some benefits as well. I went for a run this morning, and I definitely like that crisp fall air, especially in Vancouver here, is like, it's actually nicer, I feel like, sometimes to run in the fall and the spring than it is in the summer. I don't know why. Anyways, but yeah, I guess as the seasons change and it just like kind of as we go from like summer to fall, I feel like a lot of people fall into like kind of like this, like that, you hear about like the seasonal affective disorder or whatever, and it's like I feel like it impacts different people differently, but I feel like a lot of us, as the seasons change, there's no way, like, I feel like a lot of it, like, I feel like life is just like, fuck, it's just like zooming past so fast that, like, we actually don't even take into consideration what's happening in nature. Like, we never actually take a look at what's happening as, like, the world kind of goes through its different, like, cycles and periods of, like, okay, it's springtime, is like summertime, fall time. We're just, like, kind of just, like, yeah, we're kind of just, like, holding on. Like, it's almost like yeah, like I just feel like sometimes it can just kind of, we're like, whoa, it's fall already? Didn't 2024 start like 6 weeks ago? And you're like, oh no, it's actually like almost over. And that just keeps happening over year after year after year. Anyways, I feel like a lot of us are so disconnected from like kind of the, as the season changes, we forget about how the energy levels change in the world and how that kind of maybe impacts our energy levels. And just kind of the same way that a car or nature or like any environment has to go through this like cycle of either like laying fallow and recovering and like allowing, things to rebuild and kind of become a little bit more fertile for more growth in the future, that sometimes it has to just slow down a little bit. Sometimes it has to just, it has to go through a little bit of a slower period of development before it can kind of speed back up. And there's different, like I said, it's so different with us, because I guess what I'm trying to say is I think a lot of us need to be able to check in with ourselves and like find some sort of a gas gauge, or some sort of an alarm system for you or me or whatever to know where your levels are at, know where you're at. Because I feel like if you were to ask, the same way, like if you could just look at your car, your truck or whatever and be like, oh, I'm at like a half a tank. Oh, I'm at like 60%. Oh, I'm at like, I could drive for X amount more kilometers, or I'm good for another couple days. Like you could probably gauge, looking at your gas tank right now, oh, I could drive for X amount of days to and from work without filling up. Or you get the gist of what I'm saying. But it's like if you were to ask yourself about energy levels, about like how you actually feel, like it's like I feel like a lot of us are just kind of, if we're even close, we're just guessing. And then I feel like a lot of it as well is like we maybe don't even know what kind of where we're feeling the resistance to our energy. Is it like a physical thing? Is it like you need some physical rest and recovery? Do you need to just spend some time chilling out? Do you need to do some stretching? Do you need to do maybe like get like a little bit of a massage, get like a little bit of a, treat yourself? Is it one of those things, or is it something that's a little bit more, you have to fill up like a different tank in your life? Do you have to fill up, like, is it like more of like a mental or an emotional rest that you need? And you're just like, hey, I just need to check out. Like, I just need to go into nature and walk around with bare feet, or I don't know, touch some trees, or meditate, or do a yoga class, or do a spin class, or do whatever makes you feel good. Is it something that it's some things are going to be, resting your mind. Some things are going to be resting your body. Some things are going to be resting your or recovering some emotional stuff. Like it's kind of just knowing, and a lot of it ties together. But just knowing which tank you need to fill. And sometimes it's sometimes it's super obvious, and sometimes it's a little less obvious. Like I feel like sometimes it bleeds into other areas. Obviously, like when you're, I don't know. I feel like for me, it's so easy to, I at least assume that a lot of things that are physical, usually are physical manifestations of like emotional or stressful problems. And I think vice versa as well. And I think that sometimes it's so difficult to know which kind of, like I said, which tank needs filling, because sometimes when we're just like, we need an emotional rest or a mental rest, it manifests itself physically in our bodies. When you're stressed out, when you're just like kind of, angry or pissed off or sad or whatever it is, it manifests in the physical reality. Like if it manifests in your body, you get more pains, more aches, more, you get like that joint pain, you get just low energy. And, there's it's easy for it to kind of just feel like, oh, I need like some physical rest, because the symptoms you're feeling feel physical. You're like, oh, I feel low energy. I feel low. I feel like sore. I feel achy. I feel like I'm in pain. I feel like maybe just chilling out and sitting around will make me feel better. And it's like, it's easy to misinterpret this physical feeling for something that's like, yeah, that's the physical reproduction or the physical manifestation of a problem that's actually not a physical problem. And the opposite happens as well. I think that a lot of us, we have like kind of It's so yeah, like I said, the first thing is like it's kind of like you have this kind of like physical pain and you think, "Oh, I need to rest. I need to physically just kind of chill out." And but really what it is sometimes it's more of like a stress problem. It's more of like the problem could be solved even though you're feeling the physical symptoms of it. It's like, "Oh, I have these body aches, this low energy, these sore muscles, this, slower recovery." It feels like it's a physical problem manifesting, but it's really just, like I said, the manifestation of an emotional problem or a spiritual problem. And that's why you're feeling that pain. And so, no matter how much you sit around and rest and recover and allow your body to heal, it's like your body's actually just feeling that because of another issue. And the opposite happens as well. Like sometimes we have these kind of, everyone's kind of experienced that where like you see it early on in life with little kids, but we do it as adults as well where sometimes we have that the symptoms are maybe more emotional and a more you lash out, you get a little bit more irritable, you get a little bit more grumpy, and it's like, yeah, maybe that person just needs a little bit of physical rest. And it's weird how these like relationships between our body and our brain and our emotions and our feelings and all of these different things interlap. They kind of like interact with each other. And it's like, well, if you're not if you're not taking care of your emotional recovery, then obviously it's going to manifest in a physical way. And if you're not taking care of your physical recovery, then it's going to manifest in like an emotional or a spiritual way. And I think that so many times that we get it so misinterpreted where we feel, like I said, sometimes when we feel like we are getting emotional, we're getting like kind of stressed out, and we think, "Oh, I need to sit and think about my problems. I need to process my emotions. I need to, we get so stuck, and it's like I said, it's like sometimes it's you don't need the emotional or spiritual fix for the emotional spiritual pain, because it's like the opposite of what I was trying to talk about before. I don't know if this is making sense for you guys, but it's kind of just something that I'm going through right now in my head, where it's like we feel these symptoms and we have these assumptions of like, "Oh, I feel this thing, and so this is how I should fix this problem." And I think that a lot of us are just kind of misinterpreting where we should be focusing our recovery from. And I think that a lot of the time, the same way that physical pain and physical discomfort is the manifestation of an emotional problem or a spiritual problem, I think the opposite is true as well. And I think that that's why so many times, no matter how much you try and like sit and stretch a pain away, and then sometimes you just kind of like do something that relieves a little bit of stress, and you can feel the physical change of your body of like, "Oh, like, wow, I got a little," like you hear the phrase "a weight off your back." And it's like, well, it's true. Like when you lower your stress levels, your physical body feels better. And I think that a lot of us, we neglect the opposite side as well. It's like taking care of our bodies, doing a little bit of stretching, doing a little bit of like paying attention more to what we eat, just exercising more rigorously and making your body more fortified and more capable. It's for me at least shown immense results in like kind of just like my emotional state and my stress levels and how I can handle those things and how irritable I am. And I think that a lot of the time when we're maybe emotionally exhausted, maybe it takes like a physical repair. And when we're physically exhausted, sometimes it takes like that emotional repair. And I think that if you try and use like kind of the same approach for every single thing, like there's like the stereotypical like bodybuilders who just work out and they never actually like take a look at like why they're actually suffering or stressed out or depressed or anxious all the fucking time. And then there's the other side of it, of the people that just dive into their, the I just need to think about my emotions and my problems and my anxiety. And it's like they're always in their head and they're always thinking about themselves and their emotions. And it's like, well, yeah, no wonder you're stressed all the time. Like literally what you're just describing is like you're actually just thinking and talking about yourself all the time. Like that sounds fucking stressful. And so it's like sometimes we need to escape that thinking of ourselves and our emotions. Sometimes our biggest hindrance is actually just the fact that we're sitting and thinking about our thoughts and our emotions. And that's what's actually stopping us from making progress and moving forward. And sometimes to separate yourself, I guess, from those negative thoughts and those negative emotions, you need some sort of a physical pathway of like an exercise or a workout to give you that separation between yourself and those thoughts. And so I guess yeah, not only just kind of looking into when you need recovery or rest or what kind of rest and recovery you need, but also like to look into what kinds of things you're using to rest and recover. And I guess the reason that I think that this is such a, I guess, relevant topic to my life is because, yeah, like I said, as the seasons change, I know that obviously the type of work that I do changes. You know, as it gets rainier and gloomier and wetter and colder, we move a lot more of our work indoors. It's a little bit less outdoor stuff, and so yeah, work changes. Our workouts change sometimes. And I feel like as the seasons change, sometimes it almost feels like the tempo of life changes. And so I just feel like it's one of those times where at the beginning and end of seasons, I always feel like is a convenient time for me to do, like a little check-in with myself. I think everybody likes to do these types of things at like New Year's or maybe their birthday. I think my birthday is usually when I do a lot of reflection as well, but I think far too often we have, I guess, like far too few times of the year where we actually do check in with ourselves and do actually look at that gas gauge of like how we're feeling, of like how much gas do I have left in this tank, like how many more days left until my paycheck when I can afford to top this fucking thing up. It's like just kind of thinking about, for me, I always think about like different ways that I could implement rest and recovery in my life. And I think that there's so many times that, yeah, of course, like all of us would love to go for a fucking massage every single day and get some like, different like cupping done or therapy done or counseling done or this done or that done. And obviously we all have like the same fucking excuses of like, yeah, if I had a little bit more time, a little bit more money, if I had a little bit this, a little bit that, like if I was in this circumstance, I could take care of myself a little bit better. And I think that that's why it's so important. It's like, yeah, there's these big things that, you spend money on or you dedicate some time to that give you that big rush. It's like filling your tank up all the way. It's like we're maxing this fucking thing out and we're filling this thing all the way to the brim. We're going on a road trip, so we're getting as much gas as possible. Except instead of gas, it's like your energy. You go on I don't know, a big vacation with a loved one and it costs you a few grand and it takes you a couple weeks or you're there for a couple weeks or whatever, like those big things that you can do to fill your tank back up, or I don't know, you splurge and get some sort of a home recovery kit, like an ice bath or a cryo chamber or whatever the fuck people are buying now. I don't know what people are doing, but those hypervolt guns, or I don't know, there's like the medium things, there's the big things, there's the medium things. But for me, I feel like a lot of the time, because I'm somebody that, I'll just continuously make excuses. Oh, I can't go to the sauna today. Oh, I can't go to the pool. I can't do this. I can't. Oh, I'd love to do like yoga classes and get a membership. But, there's all these excuses of like, oh, I can't take care of this. I can't take care of that. But I feel like for myself, the best way that I can kind of keep my gas tank filled up isn't like those like big expensive transactions of like fill this thing motherfucking all the way up. For me, I feel like the best way to keep myself from running on empty is like just little deposits every single day instead of like these like big, expensive, time consuming ways of filling my tank back up. I've tried to, I guess, just sort of make like these little transactions every single day. Like it's like, how about I just like stretch for 5 minutes every single day in the morning? Just drink my coffee and stretch and chill out and, think about little ways. And that's just a small example. Some people like to do like a 5-minute meditation or a little journal or like I said, a stretching session or whatever way it is that you feel like fills up your cup or your tank or whatever it is. Just try and do something like that on a daily basis instead of looking for these massive shifts of your life of like, oh, I would feel better if I had X, Y, or Z or whatever it is. It's like, what if we could just get like one step closer every single day instead of just like waiting for this fucking massive, massive step towards recovery and feeling better about how we feel. Anyways, on that note, I feel like that kind of conveys the idea of what we're trying to do this week. It is the beginning of October 7th, so happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing well. And on that note, check in with yourself and see, where's your gas tank at? Where are you? And how many more days do you think you could go until you start making some deposits? And so on that note, check in with you guys next week. Much love. Peace out. Love you all. Have a good week. Bye.